Guys, right now we're gonna do another lap of the 100 Days of Cloud AWS series. Today is day 35, so we can check it out. The lab title here, right here. So the lab title is Deploying and Managing Applications on AWS. Okay, so now let me click the start button, and I will go to appdraw.com, and let me go xcleardraw.com. Okay, so let me draw a simplified diagram right here. So now we are on the AWS infrastructure. Okay, we can simply understand like this. Right now we are on the AWS client host. Okay, great. So this is AWS client host. Great. Alright, so we will read the given instruction right here, but let me copy first. I will paste right here. So I already have a diagram to explain for this lab right here. So I will explain with this diagram later. Okay, great. So now we will read the given instruction. So the Natalia's DevOps team needs a new private RDS instance for the application. So here, what does it mean RDS instance? So RDS instance is mainly for database service. So we can basically understand like that. So they need to set up a MySQL database. So here they use MySQL engine for database and ensure that their existing EC2 instance can connect to it. So we already have EC2 instance, so we're gonna have to make a connection with between EC2 instance and MySQL database RDS instance, right? So this we have a managing their database needs efficiently and securely. So here we have the two instance. Okay, this is let me draw with this. So this is EC2 instance, and this is RDS MySQL database instance. Okay, this is MySQL RDS instance. Okay, this is EC2 instance. Great. So we had to make a connection like this. All right. Okay. So we will read that here tax detail. This is the first step. So the first thing is we have to create a private RDS instance. So this RDS instance is private because that is within the private subnet. So this has to be public. So we can understand like that. So here our RDS instance name is devops-rds. So we're gonna have to use sandbox template. And the engine type is MySQL with a specific version 8.4.5. Great. And it must be a db.t3.micro type instance. So here instance type is db.t3, not t2.micro. Alright. So here the username for the database. Master username is devops_admin. Great. So with an appropriate password. So here RDS storage type must be GB2, not GB3, not GB4. So we need to consider this storage type GB2, and then storage size is 5 GB, not 10 GB, not 20 GB. Great. So here we have to get the database name. So and then we have to keep the rest of configurations as default. So we don't need to change anything right there. So ensure the instance is in available state. So we're gonna have to wait to be into available state, right? So finally we have to adjust the security rules so that the dev or EC2 instance can connect to the RDS on the port 3306 and also open port 80 for the instance. So instance is listed on port 80. So the RDS is listed on port 3306, right? So okay, so I will show this diagram. So now first of all, we have to create the RDS instance. So let me copy this whole sentence, and I will find a Google. So how to create including author specification. Okay, let me find like this. So we had to consider this command to create RDS instance. So we don't need this back retention period. I will remove that. And also I don't need this mass allocated storage. I don't need that. And also auto scaling. I don't need this. But I should add this argument, no publicly accessible, because now we're gonna create private RDS instance. That is not public, that is private. That's why I have to add this argument. And I don't need this. I will remove, and I don't need this. So here we have to get the correct master username. So master username is, where is that? Here, devops_admin. So I will get right here. And allocated storage is not 20, it's 5. So here engine version is 8.4.5. So engine is MySQL, that's correct. Your instance class is db.t3.micro, that's also correct. This also correct. So but we shouldn't forget the database name. So db name is database name. So database name is, what is that? Here, devops_db. So I will add that database name right there, and I will run this command. Great. So something's wrong. Oh, password, yeah. So we need to give the password. So I should not forget the password. I removed that, sorry for that. So okay. So password is, I will give an easy one. Admin 123. Okay, now let me run this command. Okay, so and then let me check the status running this command. Now it will be creating. Yeah, so it is still creating. We're gonna have to wait until the state is changed into available state, right? So okay. So now we have to configure this security groups for both EC2 instance and RDS instance, right? So here we have the security group, the group of EC2 instance. Okay, and we have another one. This is for security group or RDS instance, because this EC2 instance connect with this port 3306, because database, this MySQL database listing on port 3306, right? So we have to configure the security group rules. So we need to get the both security group IDs of both instance. Okay, so how do we get the security group ID? So how to get the security group? I will find like this, group ID of EC2 instance. So EC2 instance name is devops-EC2 in AWS from the CentOS terminal. Let me find like this. Alright, so let me run this command. Okay, so this is security group ID of the EC2 instance right here. So I will put here So now let me find the security group ID or RDS instance this time. So RDS instance name is devops-rds, right? So this time I will also run this command. So here is weird. Security group IDs are the same, right? So but anyway, let it be. Okay, I will paste right here. Okay. So let me check it again, the status of the RDS instance creation. So where is that? Okay, or no. Where is that? Oh yeah, right here. Okay, it's still creating. Okay, during the creation process, so let me allow the EC2 instance here, because we have to connect with the EC2 instance and RDS instance, right? So we had to allow the MySQL access from EC2 instance to RDS instance. So how to do that? So how to allow MySQL access from EC2 instance to RDS instance of AWS from the CentOS terminal. Sorry. Let me find like this. These are not the things I want. So okay, let me modify my prompt right here. Okay, we will use using SGIDs. Also, this is not the thing I want to get. Okay, so security group ID. Let me find like this again. Yeah, so we will use this command. So okay, before I run this command, let me check the status again. Okay, status almost finished. Okay, so let me modify this command. So here I have to give the RDS security group ID. So RDS security group ID is, I can get here, this one. So I will remove this parameter and I will replace that. And here protocol type is TCP and the port is 3306. We have to give the exact port number, right? Because RDS instance is listening on port 3306, right? So here is the EC2 Instance RDS security group ID. So now I will run this for all the right security group ingress, because now we are making a connection from the from here to here, right? So from EC2 instance to RDS instance using security group IDs. So let me check the status again. It's still backing up. Let me wait a few seconds, and after that I will run this command. This command is ready. Oh, it's still backing up. So here's the infrastructure. So here we do this connection right now. We're gonna do this. So that's why we need to know the security group ID, and then we're gonna allow access from EC2 instance to RDS instance. So this one is listing on port 80. So browser send request using HTTP method to this EC2 instance, and here also we can send the request from the AWS client host, right? So this, okay, so how about, let me check it again. I think hope this time it will be available. Yeah, so here that is changed into available state. That's great. Now let we run this command, and okay, so we successfully create it right here. The return value is true. Now one more thing is we have to do another connection, right? That will be from this to this, from the client side to the EC2 instance, right? So yeah, a user to EC2 instance. Okay, so how do we configure this? So because we have to allow HTTP access, right, from the client browser to the EC2 instance. So let me find the related comment. HTTP, I don't remember how to allow HTTP access from for EC2 instance. So instance name is devops EC2. Great. Okay, so let me find like this. So alright, so I will run this command. Here I want to explain this command. So group ID is, we already have the security group ID or EC2 instance, this one. So I will copy this and I will put right there. So protocol type is TCP. Port is this time is not 3306 because it has to be 80 for the EC2 instance, and CIDR range is 0.0.0.0/0, right? So this is for publicly accessible, right? So I run this command. Okay, great. So now let me get the public IP address or EC2 instance. How to get public IP address or EC2 instance. Okay, let me run this command. So here this is a public IP address or EC2 instance. So I will key right here. So let me access from our browser. So using HTTP, and I will paste public IP address. So now you will see this HTML page. This is not our target page, right? Okay, so now we will keep reading right here. So an EC2 instance name is devops-EC2. that is already existing right there. We don't need to create any more. So we have to connect to this EC2 instance from the AWS console. So now we are on the AWS console. Okay, so we have to create SSH key pair right now. So okay, so here we have to create SSH key pair. So within the SSH key pair we have two types of key, right? You already know. So one is for private, that one is ID_ISA. this is private key, and oh, it's alright. So this is public key .pub. So using private key we have to access into this EC2 instance, but the first thing is we need to push this public key to the related EC2 instance. So the direction is like to be like that. So we have to keep this public key within this EC2 instance. So first of all, let me check the SSH key pair is already existing or not. So we can use ls-la, and let me find and .sh. So within the SSH folder we don't have any SSH key pairs, so we need to create a new SSH key pair. So using sh-keygen, and we use RSA algorithm, and I will use base 2048. And now we're gonna have to create here passwords less SSH access. That's why I will use -n, capital N, and empty string. So I will keep within this specific directory. Okay, I will click enter. So now let me check again. So now you will see this time this is a private key. We had the SSH private key, and then this is the public key. Okay, great. So we'll keep reading the here step 3. But we have to use root username is root, right? We need to consider this name carefully. Username is root. Okay, so the step there is a file. File name is index.php under the root directory. So you can check ls-la. So here we have the PHP file right here within the root directory. So we have to copy this file, PHP file, to the EC2 instance. So here like this, we had index.php. Okay. So we have to copy this file to this EC2 instance. So we have to copy it. So how do you copy that? So there's another challenge that we had to think. All right. So now, and the file today is under this specific directory for web service. So, and make the appropriate changes in the file. So, okay, don't forget this to connect to the RDS. So don't forget this. This is very important right here. So when we copy, after copying the index.php file to the EC2 instance, we have to configure some things. We have to make some appropriate changes within the file. Okay. So now let me access into the EC2 instance first. So how do we do that? So let me access with SSH copy ID, and I will use -i, and I will use root user, and then I will use s.sh and ID RS. I will use private key. I will copy public key, and then now we are doing for root user. I will get the root username, and then I will get add, and then we will give this public IP address of the EC2 instance. Okay, so this method is not okay. So what is the problem? Okay, so let me try another way for temporary access. So how to push public public key from AWS console to remote EC2 instance using from the CentOS terminal. So we can run this command, you know. Okay, so we send the SSH public key from the client host, AWS client host, to a specific EC2 instance. So region is, what is the region name? So region is US East -1 region. Okay, so I will remove this. So I will put this region name. So instant ID. So instant ID is, do we have the instant ID? I think, oh God, I think we don't have instant ID yet. Okay, so let me find how to get instant ID from CLI. So I will run this command. This, okay, I will run this one. So instance name is dev of EC2. Okay. Okay, now I get the instance ID. I will copy that and I will replace right here. I don't need this. And availability zone, I don't need this. You can remove that. And username is, let me change into root user. Great. So here public key find path is root is a, okay, that's a root. So we have to start right here with a slash. So slash is 3 times. So root dot sh and id underscore isa. So let me run this command again. I hope it will be okay. So return is true. So let me access with SSH root, and then I will get the public IP address. So public IP address is this. This is for temporary access. So there's a problem which we get wrong. So we cannot try to access into the EC2 instance using SSH. So maybe the problem is SSH access on port 22 is not open. So we have to add new rule as it. Okay, so how to allow access on EC2 instance for port 22. Let me find like this. So we have to run this. Okay, great. So security group ID is EC2 instance security group ID. So we can get here. So I will copy that and I will replace right here. Protocol is TCP. Port is this time not, not 80, not 3306. This time it has to be 22 because now we after the new rule for SSH access. So CIDR range is, so we need to give our public IP address here. So I will copy this and then I will remove this. Okay, great. So let me run that. Okay, so we successfully added new rule. Okay, so let me run back again this command. This is for temporary access using SSH key, public key, pushing there. So are we trying to enter with this? I have to be. Maybe this is not correct. Maybe EC2. Why I cannot access there? Something is wrong. Is that okay? Great. Here's is address is false, but return is true. Okay, let me check the security group list. Security group rules list of EC2 instance. That is the of EC2. From the CentOS terminal. Let me find like this. Okay. Okay, let me run this. But security group ID is this one. Alright, so okay. CIDO range. This is for port 22. This is for port 80. Okay, so what's wrong? I will push this public key. The return is true. So something's weird right here. Something's weird. So let me check that. Let me check right here. Well, I was wrong. What I was wrong. That's not the thing that I want to get. Is there something wrong in the comment? OS username. Okay, let me try with this CentOS username. And then I will run this. Where is that? Okay, I hope this time it will be work. Oh. How to add the TCP protocol type is something is pretty weird. So this is CentOS. Let me change into root user. Okay. Return is true. Root, sorry, SSH and root and add, and I give the public IP right here. So this is a public IP address. So how to add? For a specific, maybe there is devops EC2 from the CentOS terminal. Recently I added, but what was wrong? Okay, let me get this one. Security group ID, I will remove this. But this time CINDR range is this. Alright. It's too pretty weird. Okay, let me run this. Okay, great. Alright, so last time, maybe this CINDR range problem, I guess so. Okay, let me run this again. And SSH root add IP address is this. Okay, so this time, yeah, so finally we can access into the EC2 instance. So the problem is, this CINDR range. So we added two SSH rule for this last. So the correct one is this one with this CINDR range. But for security, we shouldn't give this one. Actually, this is for public access. We have to get a specific public IP address that we did before, but we can access it. Okay, so now we can access it. So let me check that this directory. Let me check that. Anyway, let me check ls-la .sh folder. So how about we will read the .sh authorized key. So you will not see any authorized key within this authorized key file. So, but we do not need to copy this, but it is clearly mentioned that we had to copy this public key. So anyway, okay, we can edit it. So here, then let me copy this. Okay, so let me copy this public key right here. Where is the public key? Public key is okay right here. So where is the public key? Oh, I don't even have the public key. Okay, let me copy this somewhere and I will use it again. And then I will exit from this. Escape without save it. Q exclamation mark. Exit. And let me read this public key .sh id rsa .pub. Okay, let me copy this right here. Okay, and then I will run this command again to try to enter EC2 instance here as a root user. Okay, and then I will try to access with SSH. Great. So okay, I will run this command to modify the authorized key, and I will change into insert move. So let me directly copy it like this, because okay, and then I save it, W2, and let me exit, because the first time we use this method, you know, where is that? We use the SSH copy ID method, right? Where is that? Here, this method, but this method was not okay. How about, let me try it again right now. Can we do that? Yeah, that's not okay. So that's one. Okay. So let me try again. SSH. Okay, now we can enter into the EC2 instance. So we have to configure this index.php file right now. So let me check ls. So let me enter this directory. Before enter, I will check with the list ls-la. Alright, so we have index.html. So here this index.html is this file. Now we can access right here. So but we don't need this, right? So we can remove that, you know. So okay. So remove index.html that is within this bar www/html. So now you will not see that index.html file, and then when you refresh this page, so here is nothing. But we have to display index.php file. Here you should see a connected successfully message in the browser once you access the instance using the public IP. So we have to copy this index.php file. So but this time, you know, I will exit again, and I will check the index.php file. Okay, here this is the index.php content. So I will copy this content and let me paste right here somewhere. Okay, so and then I will try to enter it again right there. So okay, great. This time we don't need to use temporary access. Okay, so let me go there, cd /bird/www/html// okay. So here ls, we don't have index.php file, so I will create index.php file. Okay, great. Okay, let me enter that file, and then I will paste all of these codes right here. Actually, we can copy from, you know, from the AWS client host, but I will choose another way to solve the problem. So let me change into insert mode, and I will paste every single lines or PHP codes right here. So but here, remember this, we have to make the appropriate changes in the file to connect to the RDS. So here we had to give the correct DB name, we had to give the correct DB user and DB password and DB host. So here we had to do this step right here. So okay, so DB name is, what is DB name? Database name. So what is database name? Database name is, we already have that, right? right here, database name is devops_db, so I will paste right there. And username is also devops_admin, devops_admin. How about password? So I still remember password is admin 123. Okay, that's a problem now. I don't know if the DB hostname. Okay, now we have to find a DB hostname. So, but let me save this current state, escape, and we will come back again. So here when you refresh that, you will not see PHP page right here. The page is not working. So let me exit again, and then let me get the DB hostname. So how to get AWS RDS Instance DB hostname from the CentOS terminal. Okay, I will run this command. So identifier name is devops-rds, right? So I will run this. Okay, so this is the DB host name. So I will copy this whole string and I will paste somewhere. Okay, so now let me try to enter into the EC2 instance again. So using this. Yep, so okay, so let me go back that PHP file. So cd. So I will try to use bin bar www html index.php. So here, and this time I will remove this variable name dbhost, and I will replace the correct name. Okay, correct name is right here. Great, and I will paste right there. Now I will save it and w2. Okay, so let me refresh again. Yeah, so finally we see that connected successfully that we like to see. So yeah, we did it, right? So finally we did it. So we finished for this lab, I hope so. So let me check that. Click confirm button. Yeah, so that's it. So this lab is, honestly saying, it is a little bit challenging, but we have to carefully do every single step by step. Okay, no issue face, submit. So the key point is here like this. So this is our diagram for this lab. So the key point is that our rule is when you create the SSH rule for the SSH access, so you have to, you cannot give the specific public IP address right here. Where is that? Right here for port 22, you can give this 0.0.0.0/0 for publicly accessible. So you actually, for privacy, for better security, you have to replace with that specific public IP. So I tried 2 times, but the second time was okay with this CIDR range. Alright, so okay, that's the way that I solve this problem. Thanks for watching. See you in the next coming video.